interesante. Solo una cosilla. ¿Qué es Internet? ¡Qué pasada! ¿Cuántas cosas?
Well, the interesting thing is when we started making this movie and we were going to go into the internet, we said, should we create all, made-up websites so that we didn't have to deal with brands, or should we have actual brands in it? And we said, well, the audience is going to come and it needs to feel like the internet that you and I use every single day. So we need to use real websites. But just like the first film, we want to create a lot of the storytelling in original websites. So in the first film, there's Pac-Man, there's Street Fighter, but there's also Fix-It Felix Jr. and Sugar Rush. So in this film, we have things like Amazon and eBay, but we also have websites we created, BuzzTube and Oh My Disney and Slaughter Race, and there's the Darknet. So a lot of the storytelling takes place in original sites so that the audience can see the fun of that aspect of it. What's really interesting is from a legal standpoint, we don't have to actually approach the companies and get their permission. Because it's the logo itself, there's a fair use quality to it, which is we're allowed to put the logo into the film without actually approaching the companies. It's no different than in a live action film when a car drives down the street and you see actual brands on the street. You can do that. So that kind of freed us from having to have the directors feel like they had to creatively do certain things because there might be a financial incentive to it, because there's no exchange of money. So as a result, the directors were free to create the story they wanted to tell. I think, to your exact point, the company, and I really appreciate this, has said, let's not make a sequel unless there's a really great story to tell. And it's not easy to find that second version of the story. In fact, I would say making this film was way more difficult than the first one, because you have to figure out, how do I create something that feels still original, that takes you to a world you've never been to before, that's entertaining and emotional as much as the first one. And so I think we try to be very careful in when we do it. And the interesting thing about Ralph Breaks the Internet, it's the first time we've ever done a sequel at Disney Animation with the same team of filmmakers. So Rich, Phil, and myself all worked on that original one together. So it's the first time we've done that. And so I think that's really the key element to it. And the only reason we did the sequel was because they had this really great idea of what if we took the characters to the internet. That felt to us like a reason we'd want to actually go in and do it. With Frozen, I think for them, they felt the same thing. There was another story to tell. And if there's something there, a kernel of a really great idea, then it's hard not to want to go down that path, because you spend so many years creating these characters that you want to spend more time with them. When we started the film, the princess sequence was one of the first things that came into the movie, and it's really rare that something 3 years ago is actually in the final film. It's usually just the beginning of a path we go down, and it usually falls off. But there was something really great about the idea of this scene, but we never really realized just how powerful it was going to be. To us, it felt like it was the right idea because Penelope's technically a princess, so wouldn't it be funny if she met the other Disney princesses, and we could have this really great comedic moment. But then we had to earn the ability to have that scene in the film. We can't just stop the movie and make it funny in this point and then carry on with the story. They had to be organic to the storytelling. And it wasn't until much later that the idea came in, well, they've all gone down this path of figuring out what their destiny is. So what if they help Penelope find out what her destiny is? And that's when it really started to become grounded. But as we watch that scene play with audiences, we're realizing just how much the audience is enjoying that. So it will be interesting to see if there is more storytelling that we could do with those characters all together. It's interesting. I think that when we embarked on this story, we said to ourselves, there's a duality to the internet. There's that part that's super powerful, that connects people from all around the world together. And there's the part that plays on people's insecurities. And there's that kind of bullying part of the internet that exists. And we said, if we're going to do this world, and it needs to be fantastic, as we create it, we have to also talk about that darker side to it. And so that's the part that really I find juicy in the storytelling, is Ralph does go into that room, and the character, Yes, says to him, look, Ralph, it's not about you, it's about them. And I think that's an important thing to remember. And we can't ignore what we hear out there, because in some ways, again, as I said, it's a powerful tool for communication. So we can learn from it. And when people start saying things, we need to hear what it is they're saying. But at the same time, we can't allow it to be this anonymous place where people get to make us feel insecure about what we're doing. We have to still have a level of confidence. And it's that duality that I think is super complex and interesting, and was something I was excited to have be a part of the film. And if we do it right, when families leave the theater, parents will talk to their kids about that, and kids will talk to their parents about it. Maybe a kid, if one kid walks out and says, I was bullied on the internet, or I feel like Ralph at this moment in time, that's powerful. Yeah. So if we've entertained and also done that, then there's something really fantastic about that, and that's what we all deeply kind of hope for.
Princesa, chicas.
¿Y qué clase de princesa eres?
¿Tienes pelo mágico? No.
¿Manos mágicas?
No.
¿Los animales te hablan?
No.
¿Has sido envenenada?
No.
¿Maldecida?
No.
¿Secuestrada o esclavizada?
No, ¿estáis bien? Voy llamando a la policía.
¿Todo el mundo da por hecho que tus problemas se solucionan cuando aparece un hombre grande y fuerte?
Sí. ¿De qué va todo esto?
¡Es una princesa!